It is story. It is story time. And I have a treat for everybody tonight. It is a tremendous treat. Seriously. It's going to be, just wait and see. It's going to be the best. It is going to be the best. Mandelbaum is with us. That's good. Sultan of Savage, Samuel Risby is here. John Lucky Morgan, all the builders. Uncle Guns the builder. Samuel the builder. Mandelbaum the builder. All the builders. It's wild. All the builders show up here. None of the destroyers come here. All the destroyers avoid what's going on here. When we get to a certain number, I'll be revealing the surprise for tonight. And I'll let you know what it is. Oscar Anderson, the builder. Zechariah Studios. Yes, I am the top G. I'm the original top G. The original. There are no imitations at all. And tonight we are reading about, we're reading from the book Pipefuls by Christopher Morley, but I have a phenomenal surprise for you. Phenomenal surprise. Yes, Shiva not allowed. That's right. But why? But why do you hate Trump? Who the hell? Whatever. This is a show about. This is not a political show, so don't bring that crap up. Seriously, don't bring that stuff up. Don't bring that up. If you want to stay, if you want to go, then keep bringing it up. Bearded Dan the Builder. Tristan. Yes, that is the Son of God in the back. Bruno knows. Or you could just say Bruno's. SWB, good to see you. Joe Potter the Builder. Good to see you. Brian Gabor the Builder. Margot the Builder. Tristan the Builder. Drugs, women, candy. What's the surprise? I gotta wait till I get to at least 50 people. Thea Bardetti, the builder. Philip Swain, the builder. Captain Photon, the builder. Mr. Kadir. Many women in my country are virgins. What is that? Explain to me what that is. Virgin. But still have modern mentality and other aspects. Looking for the best catch. I'm 31. I'm sorry, sir. I have no idea what you mean by virgin. I don't know. All of a sudden, I got memory loss. I have no idea what that is. Joseph C., the builder. Ah, you thoroughly enjoyed the reading. Excellent. Well, you're going to get more of it tonight. It's going to be a good one tonight. Started my YouTube up this week, going to fire my boss when it's time. Zechariah Studios, email me privately to my email and send me your link and all that, and we'll help you get your channel going. We'll do what we got to do. I enjoy promoting people as much as possible. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but at least I like. Oh, there we go. Samuel put it down. Alpha5477 at yahoo.com. That's true. Eric, Catherine, good to see you. The Builder, all the builders. Tonight we're reading Christopher Morley, and he's gonna take us out of the summer. So we are halfway through summer. He'll get us through July and through August, and then Daybreak Show starts. Fire Your Boss is going to continue. I'll tell you what we're taking a break from. Fire Your Boss. That's going to come back. Me, Jonesy, and Frank. Daybreak Show coming back on a regular basis. Church of the Total Man coming back on a regular basis. It's going to be pretty darn cool. Dylan says, what's your advice to those in financial distress? Make money. That's the answer to everything. Okay, we have over 50. I did some research on what Christopher Morley's favorite tobacco was. And one fella that lived in this area here, because Morley is from the Philadelphia area, and he would get his tobacco from a place called Holt's in Center City, Philadelphia. I know exactly where it is. I've been there many times. I've been to their cigar bar. The only problem is it's in Philadelphia, which, hey, whatever. So, long story short, he smoked a thing. One of his favorite tobaccos was called Blue Boar. And he said it was his word was, it was as common as dirt. And, and he would get it at Holt's. So a guy went to Holt's and ordered it, and we haven't seen Holt's we haven't seen Blue Boar since the 80s. Since the 80s. So I looked at what it was comprised of, and Morley wrote about it. And guess what we're going to do? He took it was made of bright Virginias. I'm going to be puffing on tonight the very same mixture that Christopher Morley favored when he was alive. He took bright Virginias, right here, which I have, bright and red Virginias. Now, who else does this? Seriously, where are you going to see anyone do this? Anywhere on the web, okay? It was made of cube barley, right here. And it was barley forward, which means there was more barley in it than anything else. So we're going to get a nice 2 pinches of barley. I'm going to put 2 pinches of barley in it. And I have blending Latakia here. And and it had just a touch of, oh, this is so beautiful. This jar is from, wow, 2015, so it's 9 years old. Blending Latakia. I'm going to take the tiniest pinch of this, tiny pinch, and put that in. That's it. Now I'm going to mix it up. And apparently that's what Blue Boar was. So here we go, right there. And I'm going to mix this up. And we're going to fire this up, Christopher Morley style. How darn cool is that? So this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that. That's what it looks like. And you got to make sure that you don't get a hunk of Latakia in there. Otherwise, it'll just be a Latakia, like a lat bomb, which I don't want. So I'm going to put that. And first of all, the Cadillac cutting board is here. Cadillac cutting board is right here. Right here. That's where I cut my tobacco on the Cadillac cutting board. Okay, now I'm going to load a pipe. I got to look at pictures of Christopher Morley. I have to look at a lot of pictures of his pipes that he was smoking and see what he puffed in. I don't know. Although tonight I'm putting it in a Country Gentleman Diamondback Cob. So we'll see how that is. But somebody had put together a blend through another company. I believe it was Cornell and Deal. And they came up with a thing that they called Morley's Best. And this is basically, let's see. Let me make sure that we got a good signal here. Hold on. Okay, we have a good signal. They hail Morley's Best as his finest creation, English blend of 3 barleys, white, cubed, and rough, as well as Virginia and Cyprian. Latakia, the cool and flavorful smoke, is a perennial bestseller. So that's pretty much what I just made. So I just loaded up a pipe. So what we're trying to do What we're trying to do is we're trying to duplicate the tobacco that Christopher Morley had. And we're going to try that out right now. I'll let you know how it is. I'm digging it so far. It's hard when you're blending just like one pipe full. Get it? Pipe full. That's the name of the book we're reading tonight. It's hard when you're blending one pipe full to blend it in proper proportion. I hope I did it properly. I'm digging it. This is like really good. This is real. If you've never blended your own tobacco, you got to experiment, man. I've been experimenting for years, many, many years. I'm digging it. Wow. It's it's really good. A custom blended bowl of pipe tobacco. Imagine that. And I do have a pipe pre-loaded with Morley's Best already, and I think I have that in my Savinelli. So what I will be doing is smoking back-to-back pipes. This right here, I have Morley's Best, the actual Morley's Best in here, and then I have my version that I just made in front of you with what historically what they say Christopher Morley was smoking on a regular basis. And you know the old classic guys, like Morley was the last of what I call the pipe smoking literature guys. Not a lot of guys, not a lot of authors wrote about pipe smoking. Like there's so many blends. Like for instance, you know this is I've got Shandy Gaff, which is also a story by Christopher Morley that you're going to love, and a, a great piece of literature. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And I actually think I have the book somewhere. It's called My Lady Nicotine. My Lady Nicotine, and it's written up. Mandelbaum just brought it up. That was written by J.M. Barrie. Does anyone know who J.M. Barrie was? He wrote the book Peter Pan. Kind of a fantasy author, but one of the stories, one of the commentaries on My Lady Nicotine said that it was as if John Cleese wrote a book on smoking pipes. So if you can picture the humor, imagine the humor of John Cleese, brilliant man, brilliant comedian. If you can imagine the humor of John Cleese mixed with pipe smoking, you have My Lady Nicotine. So there we go. So let's just get this in gear here. I did have some peanuts out here that I was going to munch on. I don't know what I did with them. Probably left them in the house because I did make some I did. Hold on. Did I bring them out here or no? I don't think I did. I put some peanuts in a bowl, and they're probably sitting on the kitchen counter right now. They are. I can't believe I don't have my peanuts here. Because I have, I've got seltzer. I'm going to pour some seltzer. I have some ice cubes. I have some bitters. You guys know bitter? Just look them up, bitters. One little shake of bitters. And man, they went up in price too. If you look at the prices of bitters now, holy crap. I used to get them for like $3.99. They're like $14.99 now. And then some Four Roses bourbon. And for you purists, yes, I'm drinking out of a plastic cup tonight. And we'll just put a little, maybe a finger worth. Mix that up a little bit. Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. Very, very nice. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. Now back to the my own blend of Christopher Morley tobacco. Yeah, Four Roses is what my father used to drink. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful bourbon. I actually love it. When I smell it, it reminds me of my father, believe it or not. I'll tell you, it doesn't take much Latakia. Latakia is considered a condiment in the same way that you would put ketchup or mustard on a hot dog or hamburger, and you don't need a lot, okay? Or maybe horseradish or something like that. It's just enough to flavor it. Latakia is just enough to flavor a blend. Like Perique, same thing. And that is very nice. I am now smoking the blend that Christopher Morley favored. And remember, he was born in 1890, lived to 1957. So in his day, he said that blend was called Blue Boar, and it was as common as dirt. It was an OTC, over-the-counter, like a drugstore blend. I never get tongue bite because I always dry my tobacco out, and I don't puff like a freight train. So we're going to read. We're going to read Christopher Morley's Pipefuls tonight. Your son landed in North Philly today and said the area sucks. Yes. Yes, it's very bad. It's very, very bad. Very strong. Very, very strong blend. I really like it. Like it a lot. I think next time I would add a little less Latakia, because that's almost 10 years old, that Latakia, and it smells beautiful. That jar is 10 years old. Amazing. It's a bunch of 14-year-old boys exploring their sexuality. Or a bunch of manosphere guys. That's pretty much it. If you think about it, that's all it is. I block people. I don't even time them out anymore. I don't know if moderators have the option to actually block people. I do. So, but moderators, keep doing your thing. Thank you. I look like a black guy that is white. That might be the funniest comment I ever got in my life. All right. Ready for a read? Christopher Morley. From the book called Pipefuls, with all beautiful illustrations. This one is Thoughts on Cider. It sounds kind of weird, but I'm sure this guy could write, he could write about any topic and make it interesting. There's the illustration for the evening. A man pouring cider out of a jug into a mug, and he has some kind of old hat on. He's wearing a vest of some type. Looks like he has some kind of beard. So, interesting. Interesting. All right, here we go. Our and what do you call it? Yeah, this is like all the Reddit idiots. That's all it is. That's all. So, thank you, moderators. Thank you. Thoughts on cider. Our friend Dave Dalsett, let me turn this light on, much better, came into our kennel and found us arm in arm with a deep demijohn of Chester County cider. Now, there's a word I haven't seen before, demijohn. Somebody look that up. D-E-M-I. It's actually spelled exactly how it sounds. Demijohn. D-E-M-I-J-O-H-N. A demijohn of Chester County cider. Now, Chester County is near me, so that's pretty wild. Oh, let's see. Moderators, do your thing. We poured him out a beaker of the cloudy amber juice. It was just in prime condition, sharpened with a blithe tingle, beaded with a pleasing bubble of froth. Dave looked upon it with a kindled eye. His arm raised a tumbler in a manner that showed this gesture to be one that he had compassed before. The orchard nectar began to sluice down his throat. Dave is one who has faced many and grievous woes. His Celtic soul peers from behind cloudy curtains of alarm. Old, unhappy, far-off things and battles long ago fume in the smoke of his pipe. His girded spirit sees agrarian unrest in the daffodil and industrial riot in a tin of preserved prunes. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. He sees the world moving on the brink of horror and despair. Sweet dalliance with a baked bloater on a restaurant platter moves him to grief over the hard lot of Newfoundland fishing fleet. 6 cups of tea warm him to anguish over the peonage of Sir Thomas Lipton's coolies in Ceylon. Souls in perplexity cluster around him like Canadian dimes in a cash register in Plattsburgh, New York. Anyone who knows what that means, Plattsburgh is the northernmost city in New York State before you get to the Canadian border. So that's kind of like inside humor. That's actually pretty. Souls in perplexity cluster around him like Canadian dimes in a cash register in Plattsburgh, New York. You just don't see that kind of humor anymore. Let's see. He is a human sympathy trust. When we are on our deathbed, we shall send for him. The perfection of his gentle sorrow will send us roaring out into the dark and will set a valuable example to the members of our family. But it is the racks of clouds that make the sunset lovely. The bosomy vapors of Dave's soul are the palette upon which the decumbent sun of his spirit casts its vivid orange and scarlet colors. His joy is more perfect to behold because it bursts goldenly through the pangs of his tender heart. His soul is like infant Moses, cradled among dark and prickly bulrushes, but anon it floats out into the river and drifts merrily downward on a sparkling spate. It has nothing to do with Dave, but we will here interject the remark that a pessimist overtaken by liquor is the cheeriest sight in the world. That's pretty funny. A pessimist overtaken by liquor is the cheeriest sight in the world. Who was so extravagantly, gloriously, and irresponsibly gay? Again, this was a time when you can use the word gay and it actually meant happy. Just for you young guys out there, if in a story that's 100 years old, and this book was written 100 years ago, if it's referring to someone who is gay, it actually means that they're happy. Okay? Dave's eyes beaconed as the cider went its way. The sweet lingering tang filled the arch of his palate with a soft, mellow cheer. So he's talking about a guy who's a pretty miserable son of a gun, who is getting happier as he's drinking more of the, sounds like hard cider he's drinking. His gaze fell upon us as his head tilted gently backward. We wished there had been a painter there, someone like F. Walter Taylor to rush onto canvas this gorgeous benignity of his aspect. It would have been a portrait of the rich Flemish school. That probably went over 99% of people's heads right there. Dave's eyes were full of tender emotion, mingled with a charmed and wistful surprise. It was though the poet was saying he had not realized there was anything so good left on the earth. His bearing was devout, religious, and mystical. In one moment of revelation, so it appeared to us as we watched, Dave looked upon all the profiles and aspects of life and found them of noble outline. Not since the grandest of grand old parties, the GOP, went out of power. Since the grandest of the grandest old parties went out of power, Dave looked less as though he felt the world were on the verge of an abyss. For several moments, revolution and anarchy receded. Profiteers were tamed. Capital and labor purred together on a mattress of catnip, and the cosmos became a free verse poem. He didn't even utter the customary and ungracious remark to those to whom cider potations are given. That'll be at its best in about a week. That's great. When something is fermenting, there's always the one guy when everyone's sipping the fermented drink, there's always one guy that's going to say, that'll be at its best in about a week. Again, this is life 100 years ago. We apologize for the cider being a little warmish from standing discreetly hidden under our desk. Deuce Man said, I think cider, like ale, ought not to be drunk too cold. I like it just this way. He stood for a moment, filled with theology and metaphysics. By gracious, he said, it makes all the other stuff taste like poison. Still he stood for a brief instant, transfixed with complete bliss. It was apparent to us that his mind was busy with apple orchards and autumn sunshine. Perhaps he was wondering whether he could make a poem out of it. Then he turned softly and went back to his job in a life insurance office. As for ourselves, we then poured out another tumbler, lit a corncob pipe, and meditated. Well, it's time for me to fire up a pipe, since he mentioned corncob pipes. Then he Then he turned softly and went back to his job in a life insurance office. As for ourselves, we poured another tumbler, lit a corncob pipe, and meditated. Falstaff once said that he had forgotten what the inside of a church looked like. There will come a time when many of us will perhaps have forgotten what the inside of a saloon looked like, but there will be still the consolation of the cider jug. Very interesting. So he's talking about the role of alcohol in people's lives. Like the smell of roasting chestnuts and the comfortable equatorial warmth of an oyster stew, it is a consolation hard to put into words. It calls irresistibly for tobacco. In fact, the true cider air always pulls a long puff at its pipe before each drink. Wow, a story about pipe smoking and drinking alcohol. And blows some of the smoke into the glass so that he gulps down some of the blue reek with his draught. Just why this should be, we not know, although some enthusiasts insist on having small sugared cookies with their cider, others cry loudly for Reading pretzels. Some have ingenious theories about letting the jug stand either tightly spurred or unspurred until it becomes hard. In our experience, hard cider is distressingly like drinking vinegar. We prefer soft cider, with all its sweetness and transfusing savor of the fruit animating it. At the peak of its deliciousness, it has a small, airy sparkle against the roof of the mouth, a delicate tactile sensation like the feet of dancing flies. The bubbles in cider feels like dancing flies. A delicate tactile sensation like the feet of dancing flies. This, we presume, is the 4.5 to 7% of sin with which the fermented cider is credited by works of reference. There are pedants and bigots who insist that the jug must be spurred with a corncob. For our own part, the spur does not stay in the neck long enough after the demijohn reaches us to make it worthwhile worrying about this matter. Yet, nice attention to detail may prove this cob has some secret affinity with the cider, for a Missouri meerschaum never tasted so well as after 3 glasses of this rustic elixir. Well, son of a gun. How appropriate that I am puffing on a Missouri meerschaum while having a nice adult beverage here. I feel like I need to be having some hard cider. Maybe next time I'm out here, I'll be puffing on, next time I read Christopher Morley, I'll be puffing on a corncob pipe. Because I was wondering, right, before this started, I was wondering what he smoked. And he says that they blew the smoke into the glass before they took a sip of it. I'm not going to do that. That does not sound appetizing to me. Fire this up again. The Cobb has some secret affinity with cider, for a Missouri meerschaum never tasted so well after 3 glasses of this rustic elixir. That ingenious student of social niceties, John Mistletoe, in his famous Dictionary of Deplorable Facts. Now, that would be an interesting book. When you read a book that's 100 years old mentioning another book, your job is to look up that book. John Mistletoe, in his famous Dictionary of Deplorable Facts, a book which we heartily commend to the curious, for he includes a long and most informing article on cider, tracing its etymology to the old Hebrew word shaker, I guess shaker or shakir, meaning to quaff deeply, maintains that cider should only be drunk beside an open fire of apple wood logs. Interesting. Yes, the book is called Dictionary of Deplorable Facts. And preferably on an evening of storm and wetness, when the swish and sudden pattering of rain against the panes lend an added agreeable smugness to the cheerful scene within, where master and dame sit by the rosy hearth frying sausages in a pan laid on the embers. Again, last night I talked about shikr, Yiddish for drinker. Interesting. Very interesting. Last night I was talking about how the pouring rain. I just love being out here having a pipe while it's pouring rain. And preferably, okay, this reminds one of the anecdote related by ex-Senator Beveridge in his Life of John Marshall. There's another book, The Life of John Marshall. Justice Story told his wife that the justness of the Supreme Court were of self-denying habit, never taking wine except wet weather. Supreme Court justices never drank unless it rained. But it does sometimes happen that the Chief Justice will say to me, when the cloth is removed, Brother Story, step to the window and see if it does not look like rain. And if I tell him the sun is shining brightly, Judge Marshall will sometimes reply, all the better, for our jurisdiction extends over so large a territory that the doctrine of chances makes it certain that it must be raining somewhere. All right. Did you get the humor in that? And that is the 125, 150-year-old version of it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So being that the Supreme Court justices only drank when it was raining, their excuse when someone said, I thought you only drank when it rained, he would say, surely it must be raining somewhere. Now that's funny. Come on. That is funny. Oh, I think that's hilarious. But it does sometimes happen that Chief Justice will say to me, when the cloth is removed, Brother Story, step to the window and see if it does not look like rain. And if I tell him the sun is shining brightly, Judge Marshall would reply, all the better, for our jurisdiction ends over so large a territory that the doctrine of chances makes it certain that it must be raining somewhere. Our own theory about cider is that the time to drink it is when it reaches you, and if you hail from Chester County, so much better. I am right near Chester County. I lived in Chester County for 4 years. Very, very, very historic county. It's Chester County is kind of like the horse farm capital of the world. I've never seen so many horse farms in my life than in Chester County. It's like you encounter a horse farm every 2 miles, no matter where you go, in any direction. We remember with gusto a little soliloquy on cider delivered by another friend of ours, as we both stood in a decent ordinary on Fulton Street, going through all the motions of jocularity and cheer. Cider, he said, is our refuge and strength. Cider, he insisted, drawing from his pockets a clipping much tarnished with age, is a drink for men of reason and genteel nurture. Let me read that again. Cider, he insisted, drawing from his pocket a clipping much tarnished with age, is a drink for men of reason and genteel nurture, a drink for such as desire to drink pleasantly, amiably, healthily and with perseverance, and yet retain the command and superintendence of their faculties. So it doesn't get you too drunk. I have here a clipping sent me by an eminent architect of the great city of Philadelphia, city which is a pleasure for me to contemplate by reason of the beauty and virtue of its women. What? What? Wait. Christopher Morley is talking about Phil. No, this is 100 years ago. He's thinking pleasantly about Philadelphia because of the beauty of its women. Boy, have things changed. You can tell this was written 100 years ago. And he says they're virtuous. Philadelphia is known for its beautiful and virtuous women. The infinite vivacity and good temper of its men. Don't get me going on that. And its rectitudinal disposition of its highways. You have heard me say Philadelphia has the worst roads I have ever driven on in my life. So, man, things have taken a turn in Philadelphia, because 100 years ago, they're talking about this as if it's like the ideal city to live in. I have here a clipping sent me by an architect of fame, charming parts, and infinite cellarage, explaining the virtues of cider. Cider, this clipping asserts, produces a clearness of the complexion. It brightens the eye, particularly in women, conducive to the composition of generous compliment and all the social suavity that endears the intercourse of the sexes. Longevity, this extract maintains, is the result of application to good cider. So cider makes women more pretty. Or is that just the men having cider goggles on? If you drink too much cider, then all the women look pretty, right? Oh, this is hilarious. Let's see. The Reverend Martin Johnson, the vicar of Dilwyn in Herefordshire, from 1651 to 1698, wrote this. Now, here's a book that's 100 years old, referring to a book that was written in 1698. This parish, wherein cider is plentiful, hath many people that do enjoy this blessing of long life. So it's a longevity drink. I might have to get me some cider now. If you can get some real cider. Neither are the aged, bedridden, or decrepit as elsewhere. Next to God, we ascribe it to our flourishing orchards. First, that bloom trees in spring do not only sweeten but purify the ambient air. Next, that they yield us plenty of rich and winey liquors, and do conduce very much to the constant health of our inhabitants. Their ordinary course is to breakfast and sup with toast and cider through the whole Lent, which heightens their appetites and creates them durable strength to labor. Interesting. Yeah, Mandelbaum, you said like apple cider vinegar. You're right. Wow. Margot is cracking up at that because she lives in Philadelphia and she drives in on the worst roads in the worst neighborhoods in Philadelphia, the worst. So she's probably getting a kick out of this. Margot, this is a description of what Philadelphia was like 100 years ago. There was a pause in our friend. He is a man of girth, and with a brow bearing all the candor of a life of intense thought, leaned against the mahogany counter. That is very fine, we said, draining our chalice and feeling brightness of eye. You don't see that phrase, brightness of eye. What exactly does that mean, brightness of eye? Length of years and durable strength to labor added to our person. In the meantime, why do you not drink the rich and winey liquor which your vessel contains. He folded up his clipping and put it away with a sigh. I often have to read that first to make the damn stuff palatable. That's a good one. It will be 10 years, he said, before the friend who sent me that clipping will have to drink any cider. Wow. And that's that. That. Who could write on cider? Who could write an essay funny, historical, referencing books that were 100 years old back then, mentioning in the essay mentioning Missouri meerschaum pipes? Oh, just amazing. Anyways, there you go. That is called Thoughts on Cider, written in 1920. Isn't that great? I know a lot of you really enjoyed reading it. I hope, well, I should say, I know you enjoyed it. And for those that this is your first time here, I hope you enjoyed listening to that as much as I enjoyed reading it to you. That was actually pretty good, wasn't it? That was good. So the women were 100 years ago were considered beautiful and virtuous in Philadelphia. And I'll be reading this book, little selections from this book for most of the summer. That'll take us into fall, where I start reading horror and science fiction to you. All right, so that pipe is done. Now, in this pipe here, I actually have the actual tobacco called Morley's Best. And this is the actual recipe, not my homemade one, the actual recipe of what Morley would order at Holt's in Philadelphia. Holt's is a historic, I forget when Holt's was built. When was Holt's established? Oh, we're going to do some Lovecraft. Oh, no doubt. We're going to do Lovecraft. A couple years ago, we focused on H.G. Wells. We're going to do some serious Lovecraft. Serious Lovecraft this year. "100 years ago, Philadelphia was probably a Renaissance city." Amazing. All right, so the blend that I made is a lot stronger than this, the actual Morley's Best tobacco. There was a place called the Tinderbox. There's actually a Tinderbox in Philadelphia right now. There's one in, not Gladwin, not Bryn Mawr. Oh, there's this little town right near there, like Haverford area. There is a Tinderbox, and that's cigars and pipe tobacco. Yeah, there's a Ardmore. It's in Ardmore. I knew it started with an A. I knew it started with an A because I remember a gal, Trish Fulvio, lived in Ardmore. I knew Trish, and Trish, I don't know if you're watching or not. Trish was the one who introduced me to Dick Vermeil, the NFL football coach. So that's my history with Ardmore and Trish and Dick Vermeil. And she introduced me to Bernie Parent, one of the top 10 greatest hockey players of all time, if any of you are hockey fans. I got to know Bernie about 10 years ago. Do you know of any place that has mail order for tobacco and pipes? Mandelbaum will tell you that. I'll tell you what, this is very similar to what I just mixed up. Morley's Best is very similar to what I just mixed up. I'm actually impressed at my own blending skills. So it's not bad. This Thursday night, I'm going to be meeting Dr. Alan Harrelson. Dr. Alan Harrelson is a keynote speaker at the G.K. Chesterton conference here, literally one town over from me. And he'll be speaking on Thursday night. So I will be meeting him and maybe tipping back a glass or two. We'll see. Speaking at the G.K. Chesterton conference. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. He spent the last couple days in Gettysburg, roaming the fields, playing a banjo, smoking pipes. If you Google the G.K. Chesterton conference in King of Prussia, you'll see the title of what he's speaking on. Probably something very esoteric and intellectual. The guy he's a doctorate in history. Ah, you're in Pottstown. Excellent. Great. Well, there is another fellow, Neil, who is here, PA Whitetails, who is in the Collegeville area. So I'm in Conshohocken. Neil is in Collegeville, and you're in Pottstown. So there's a handful of us, Delaware Valley, 5-county people. I have all kinds of pipe lighters. I use everything from Bics to wood matches to every possible kind of thing you can imagine to light a pipe. And I'm not a pipe lighting supremacist. I don't if it has fire that emanates from it, I use it. Like I got one of these little. I have everything. I have all kinds of tampers. This was a gift from a guy who went to Boswell's and got me this tamper made out of briar and has a metal end onto it. Looks like a claw hammer, doesn't it? And one of my clients got this for me at Boswell's. Ian Simmons, good to see you. One of my OGs here. Bavarian Monk Beer Diet, no. Noah from England. I'm in Philadelphia. So, I will be reading from Christopher Morley till the end of summer, every time I come on. I need a custom Sanity, Clarity, and Reason cap. Yeah, that would be great. That'll replace my Nike hat, right? How do meerschaum pipes? I have one meerschaum pipe, and it's beautiful. I don't think I have it here, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful amber color. And I do, it's interesting because I have some unfinished pipes. They're not stained or in any way, and they have a natural patina. Where is it? I have my Savinelli 320 is here, and it was an unfinished pipe, and I was disciplined enough to not finish it in any way, and I had patience, and it turned the most beautiful patina you've ever seen. It just, oh, it's beautiful, beautiful. And it took several years to get to that point. Several years. I'm not going to find it now. I don't play chess. No. There's so many different caps I could have. I could have a daybreak cap. I could have a sanity, clarity, and reason cap. I could have a save the man, not the marriage cap. Ribeye going into the skillet. That's great. I had a New York strip steak last night, nothing else. Just a big, giant strip steak on a plate. It was beautiful. That is why I tell you, you must read books that are 100 years old. Because the vocabulary, the style of writing, and the humor is the best. It is the best. Modern literature, you know what? It's like music. It reminds me, like I have to go back 50 years to find good music. I really do. I have to go back 50 years to find the music that I like the best. My favorite years of music, that little era from 68 to 71, if you look up the Billboard charts during those 4 years, the best music, absolutely the best. And Obama is right, some great bachelor books. One of my favorite poems is called Bachelorhood. And that is, all right, you're going to get a little, you're going to see where the tentacles go here. Remember when I was broadcasting from my kitchen? Does anyone remember that? Does anybody remember when I would broadcast from my kitchen table? Now I broadcast from the dining room table. I would broadcast from the kitchen table. Yes, Mandelbaum, the betrothed. Yes, that has to be read. I have to have my laptop in front of me to do that. When I would broadcast from the kitchen table, what did I call that area of my kitchen? What did I call that area of my kitchen? Here's a little quiz for you. What did I call? I called it the cozy nook. That's right. Do you know where that came from? That came from a poem called Bachelorhood, written in 1912, where the famous line, a pipe, a book, a cozy nook. And that's where that came from. I called my little kitchen area, that little nook, the cozy nook. And that came from that 1912 poem called Bachelorhood. Absolute classic. Absolute classic. Daybreak show starting up at the end of summer again, after Labor Day. A pipe, a book, cookie, and some crazy nookie. Yeah, I was going to say, Ted, Ted remembers the Daybreak Hoe. Do you remember that one time I called the Daybreak Show the Daybreak Hoe by accident? That was pretty funny. That was funny. Will I bring back Beards Without Borders? I guess if I have a bigger beard, I would. Maybe in the future. Someone so says, am I Daniel? No, I'm in denial. Annie D from Arizona. How are you? You're one of the OGs going way, way back. You go back many years. And cheers to you, Annie. Cheers to you. When am I going to do the head shave? I don't know. I'm not sure. The Rise and Shine videos, that was when I had the big beard, and I would start out every morning saying, Rise and shine, my mothers and my brothers. Neil, I think you would look good with a shaved head, dude. Annie D, you sent me a book. Mandelbaum has a good shaped head. That's one thing about guys when they shave their a lot of guys would say, I think I'm going to shave my head. Is it best for someone else to do it if it's your first time? Yeah. Yeah. I think it is. I think it's best. Yeah. Trump should shave his head and grow a goatee. Do I think cell phones changed our lives for the worst? I think it added to our lives and took away from our lives. Back when cell phones were just phones, it was a different story. When smartphones came out, that's a whole different story. EDB says I had hair down my ass, cut it off when that wretched wench tore my heart out. Felt like a new man for a while, but also felt like I lost a big part of your. Yeah, that's the way it feels. That's the way breakups feel, man. You lose part of yourself. That's just. I mean, that's. Yeah. Do I clean my pipes with whiskey? They say you should clean your pipes with Everclear, not whiskey. Some say whiskey because of the flavor that it imparts to the actual pipe itself. I'd rather use a neutral spirit like Everclear and drink my whiskey. I probably should add. I want to add some ice cubes. I have my ice in this big giant mug. And it's so hot tonight that I'd rather drink a cool whiskey than a room temperature whiskey. Let that cool off a little bit. Mostly about the hair losing part of myself. Felt like a hippie for the longest time. Now I just feel like a normal dude. Oh, right, right. But also too, when you go through a divorce or breakup, or experience a loss of some type, it is like losing part of yourself. You have to kind of reinvent normal. Mm. So that's Four Roses, seltzer, some bitters, and some ice. Feels good. Change in image is change in mind. Yeah, I remember Zig Ziglar many years ago talking about a man who lost a lot of weight, and he was walking on a sidewalk in a city, in a business district, and looking at his reflection in the mirror, not the mirror, in the window, the store windows. And he said it took him a long time. It took him a long time to register that he was now thin because he did not recognize the man in the reflection. So when you've been living with anything, whether it be weight or like if you were thin and you put on a lot of weight, you might look in the mirror and say, "Who's that fat guy looking back at me?" You know, like when my hair turned white, I look in the mirror and I say, "God, who's that old guy looking back at me?" So it takes a while. Like Mandelbaum says, the brain needs to form new patterns. Yeah. Dep- yeah, you know what? That's a great phrase. Depression weight. Put on depression weight. I get that. I get that. Exercise cures depression. Boy, isn't that the truth? I never got back from a walk. I never got back from a walk or a workout thinking, man, I wish I didn't do that. I might doubt doing it before I start out. It might be a pain in the ass, right? And then when I'm done, I think to myself, man, I'm glad I did that. Yeah, made plans with a buddy to start working out Planet Fitness, $20. You could bring a guest. That's true. I brought my dad to Fitness with me in Florida and worked him out. 89 years old. I was really working him hard. Slip says, "You helped me so much by just responding to me. You will be okay. You will be." That was years ago, and I think about those words. It's amazing what just a little. It's it's just a little pick me up. It's amazing what just a few positive words can do to somebody. I had a professor in college, Hobart Grazier, from Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, and ever hear of Nanticoke, Pennsylvania? It's up in the what they call the coal region of Pennsylvania, and and I'd see him and I'd say, "Professor Grazier." I'd wave to him, and it didn't matter if he was 3 feet from me or if he was down the hall. He'd point to me, and he had a goatee. He'd point to me and go, "You're okay, boy," like that. Always said that in college. "You're okay, boy." That's what he said. "You're okay, boy." Yeah, don't overthink pipe smoking. You'll eventually get it. Who was the guy that wrote the book? And he had a bunch of He had a bunch of cassette tapes that were taken from literal record albums before there were tapes. And it was a guy that Zig Ziglar listened to. And he had kind of like an old-fashioned voice. And I just remember his phrase saying, "Success through a positive mental attitude." Who was that guy? Who? This guy was before Nightingale. Success through a positive mental attitude. Old Joe Biden. It's funny. I got this tobacco here, which is very similar to Haunted Bookshop, called Old Joe Krantz. That's another one of those blends that'll knock you on your butt. Clement Stone. Yes. Clement Stone. Clement Stone. Success through a positive mental attitude. Combined Insurance Company. Yep, that's right. Have I eaten baked beans on toast? No, but I did have baked beans for dinner tonight. You know, it's funny. Like I said, my favorite music is from 1968 to 71. It sounded like Jordan Peterson there, exactly. That is why I like old books. That is why I like old literature from a different era. Think about it. Think about that. Christopher Morley, born in 1890, died in 1957. He literally was alive. He was alive through the advent of the automobile and the airplane. Books are the only thing that can increase your vocabulary. Watching videos does not increase your vocabulary. Most people will just read a book and go over words that and they don't know what their meaning is. Arnold says, you don't have to respond to this, but you really helped me through, let me go back to that, helped me through my latest breakup of 6 years, and if you're new, and if I knew your channel before, maybe things would be different. Cheers to you. Yeah. Tonight I'm definitely going to be taking a cold shower before I go to bed. I feel kind of warm tonight. It is slightly humid out here. Let's see what the temperature is. It's 88 in here right now. And humid. So it's pretty warm in here. Been reading Carl Jung, Marcus Aurelius, and Viktor Frankl. Excellent. That's great. Ian says, I actually look up words if I'm reading something I don't know the meaning. I don't just breathe. Yeah, excellent. Ian, that's great. I always have a dictionary with me. Always. I used to literally, I used to pride myself at how fast I could read. I could read 20 to 30 pages an hour. And I had fairly high reading comprehension. And I could slow it down to about 20 to 25 an hour if I looked up all the words. But I felt that when I looked up the words, that things were just a little more, the reading was richer. I felt like I was getting more bang for my buck, if that makes any sense. I mean, some of the humor that Christopher Morley used, it was like It was like that one commentator said, it's almost as if like you're reading something that John Cleese would have written. Tomorrow night, tomorrow night I will, or not tomorrow night, Thursday night I'll be reading the next selection in Christopher Morley's Pipefuls called One Night Stands. Look at that. Look at that illustration. One Night Stands. Look what that guy's wearing. A top hat, a cape, plaid pants, leather boots, and he's got like a Snidely Whiplash mustache. Kind of looks like Edgar Allan Poe. That's what it reminds me of. But the next reading will be Thursday night, and the title is called One Night Stands. Looking forward to that. Reading Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus is what you're reading. Okay, excellent. Watching from India, reading Paradise Lost. Excellent. Visnami from yesterday's read is someone's facial features and expression. Well, think about it. VIS, the root word in that, visage, would be your face. So, yeah, I could see that. I took ancient Greek many years ago, and the teacher makes all the difference. The first time I took Greek, I failed miserably, and then I took it again. Nomos from Greek means law, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken. Currently reading Jack Carr, Don't Hate Me. Big fan of Jack Carr. Big fan of Jack Carr. Yeah. How's my dad doing? He's doing okay. I guess he's doing okay. They went to they ordered a new vehicle today, a 2025 Honda CRV, fully loaded. It's about 40,000. It's pretty nice, pretty nice. The CRV style has changed quite a bit from what they had, and they got the insurance company wrote them a check for the car got totaled. So, On a Wing and a Hog, reading Alpha Unplugged by Rich Cooper and Forever Strong by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. Yeah, Rich Cooper wrote a great book. I have it right here. The Unplugged Alpha, very good. Rich is a friend of mine, and I knew him before anyone knew him. Rich and I knew each other way before he was even doing men's content, that kind of thing. Do I like Toni Morrison? Somewhat. It's interesting. When I took ancient Greek, there was a section of the course, one of the textbooks was called Greek Word Roots. And when you study Greek word roots, that was about a 150-page book. You see Greek, you see the Greek language in all through the English language. But the second time I took Greek, after failing miserably, I took it about 2 years later. I got an A in it because of the teacher. Teachers make all the difference. All the difference in the world. And it's amazing. It didn't catch with me. The Greek did not catch with me the first time I took it, and that was in 1984. When I took it in 1986, I got straight A's on it. It was amazing. Like how 2 years earlier, how could it not click with me? And then taking it again, it was it got me excited because the teacher helped me. Yes, Guns has it right there. You double tap the screen, the phone screen, and that gives it a thumbs up. That gives me a little heart. Blake's Pipes, good to see you. Did better in high school Mandarin than in college Latin. Okay. Starting to read The Predatory Female. I read that. I actually have that in my backpack. Well, this Morley's Best was so appropriate while I was reading Christopher Morley, and I made my own Morley blend. That was cool. That was pretty cool. Another great book. Well, here's Aaron Clary. I, I recommended this, 2 years? I had Aaron on the channel. Called The Menu. It's called The Menu, subtitled Life Without the Opposite Sex. And Aaron is a very good author. He's a good guy too. He's actually also a dance instructor, like ballroom dancing. Believe it or not, that's one of the cool things about him. He's a true Renaissance man. He wrote this book called The Menu: Life Without the Opposite Sex. It's available on Amazon. Somebody You can just look it up on Amazon. The Menu: Life Without the Opposite Sex, and it shows like you don't have to feel a lack. You don't have to feel a lack. Aaron Clary is the world's only motorcycle riding, ballroom dancing, fossil hunting, mountain climbing economist. He spent 15 years in banking to learn that work sucks, life is short, and was not meant to be spent in a cube suffering the idiots of corporate America. He left in a sense pursued a career in drinking, ballroom dancing, and hedonism. He occasionally writes books too. You would actually enjoy this. The Menu: Life Without the Opposite Sex. Took balls to write that book, I'll tell you that. It's very good. Yep. Sounds like my life, no sex. That's actually not a bad thing. Napoleon Hill talked about the mystery of sex transmutation, and that is taking your sexual energy and turning it into energy for life. It's not all about insert A into B. Although it took me 60 years to figure that out. Better late than never, right? Yeah, Hill also had an interesting background. He certainly did. He certainly did. I would love to see a. Yeah, Lisa says, "You're so right. I love men. Long distance." Yep, I hear you. Not that this is a channel where we commiserate about the opposite sex, but I think there's a time and place for everything. I do. Jason, that's actually funny. The last time I was at the Mustang Ranch, they handed out free copies of the menu, right? Do I have a retrohale? Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. And that's beautiful. On a Wing and a Hog says, I'm an avid reader. My goal is 50 books a year. I'm on 32. Just finished the entire Jack Carr series, including the most recent release. Also, Mark Greeny's Gray Man series. I like the Gray Man series. I like that. Yeah, certain tobaccos you don't want a retrohale, believe me. Jack Carr books are legit. Yeah, there's another guy who I got to know named Russell Blake. He has written more thriller. He would remind you of like Jack Clancy. Russell Blake. One of my inspirations for going on YouTube was a woman by the name of Adele Ramcharan, who I got to know probably about 10 years ago from her YouTube channel. And I actually was texting her and I said, Adele, come on the channel. And she's never a guest on anyone's channel. She just doesn't want to be a guest. She goes, but I know somebody who will be on your channel. And I said, who's that? She goes, there's a guy sitting at the table with me. We're both at a cafe on the beach in Mexico. I'm like, really? Who? She goes, a guy by the name of, his pen name is Russell Blake. And so I said, give me his number. We chatted. Russell Blake, if you look up his books, Russell Blake, I think he's written more thrillers, like international espionage, that kind of thing, than anyone else. He writes books very similar to like Jack Carr, Jack Reacher, that kind of stuff. Russell Blake. And I had a great conversation with him. I gotta have him. I gotta have him on the channel. Gotta have him on the channel. I befriended him about. Yeah, he writes like Tom Clancy kind of books. Yep. Member of the International Thriller Writers. Ah, excellent. Well, it's time to go in and take a nice cool shower, calm down, and get up. Get up early tomorrow, start my day. Tomorrow I'm making carnivore pizza tomorrow night. And I'm doing that with shredded chicken, mozzarella, and an egg. You mix it up, spread it out, bake it, and it becomes like a pizza crust. Take that out of the oven, then you put your crushed tomatoes, mozzarella, sausage, pepperoni on it, and then bake it again for another 10 minutes. Carnivore pizza. Carnivore pizza. Well, there is a lot of choices on YouTube every night. So many people you could watch on YouTube. But you chose to spend a couple minutes with me, and for that, I am thankful. So I wish you a good night, and I'll see you again on Thursday night, where we read Thursday night, 7 p.m., and I'm going to be doing a reading of Christopher Morley's book, Pipefuls, and the selection is called One Night Stands. I will see you on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Have a great night.